Hi, in this video we are going to discuss about ownership rules. I hope you have already seen the part 1 and part 2 of ownership, which was more about stack and heap and how exactly strings are treated in Rust. Let's get started with the video. So we'll start with the rules first. Now ownership in Rust has three basic rules. I'll give examples for each of them one by one. The first one is each value has an owner, or if I would like to define a value is basically what exactly the user input is, or if you're not based on user input, the value of the variable is basically the value here. The second one is, or the second rule is, when the owner goes out of scope, the value is dropped. Don't worry, I'll take each and every rule and discuss the examples in this video as well. The third one is there is only one owner at a time, which basically means one value can have only one owner at a time. If we go ahead and discuss the examples, let me take the rule 1 first. This one is pretty straightforward. Each value in Rust has an owner, which means if I say let s equals string from hi, then the value hi will have only one owner, or it should have an owner, which is s. It is as simple as it is. Each and every value, or each value, has an owner. That's the basic. Let's go to rule 2 with an example. Rule 2 was when an owner goes out of scope, the value is dropped. By which I mean, if you take the same example here as well, like let s equals string from hi, then what I mean with this rule is, say suppose if I print it here, or in order to print it I'll have to add curly braces as well. So s, and I closed the code here, or I put it in a block and the block is closed here. If I want to access string s here, the compiler will throw me an error mentioning this is out of scope. So if the owner is inside the code block, its validity, or it only remains till that point. Now what exactly happens in Rust is, say suppose you have defined a string, it gets its pointer into the stack, which is basically from the heap which we discussed in previous videos, and hi is stored somewhere here. Once the scope or the code block ends, Rust internally, or the Rust memory management tool or Rust compiler, whatever you want to say, just understand the Rust itself will call a drop method. The drop method will basically remove all the values or all the owners from their values actually. So drop will basically drop s out of scope for the other part of the code, and that's why we will not be able to print s anymore. So the rule 2 says when an owner goes out of scope, the value is dropped. In other way, should say if the code block ends here and we have let s equals something, and if we want to access s here somewhere, we'll not be able to do it because the value in the heap will be dropped using the drop function, which Rust internally uses to free up memory. So this is basically the second rule. If you want more examples, I could give more examples, but it is quite straightforward. I'll repeat it again. If this is the code block and you are instantiating anything here, I'll put question marks, anything. And if you want to access it here out of the code block, you cannot do it. The drop function gets kicked in here, and it basically removes all the values from their owners, and the owners become undefined. So you cannot access any value out of this scope. Now let's go to rule 3. Now what exactly Rust rule 3 says? The rule 3 says, if we scroll up, we can see there is only one owner at a time of a value. I'll show you with an example. Let's use the same example which we have been using till now, which is let s equals string from hi. Okay, what I'll do is I'll assign s1 the value of s. Additionally, I'll try to print the value of s. What do you think will happen here? Since we already know the rule 3 says that every value should have only one owner at a time, what we are doing here is we are assigning the value of s to s1 as well when it is already assigned to s. In basic terms, what I mean here is s is pointing towards a pointer p1, which is an output of the heap where high is stored, right? Which is basically also s1, which is pointing towards p1, which is an output of the heap where high is stored, right? Now, is this possible? No, because Rust rule 3 says every value should have only one owner at a time. Since every value should have only one owner, what should happen in this case? We have s and s1, which is basically p1, 5 which is the capacity, 5 which is the length. Let's say this is s, and we have, okay, this might be a little confusing, and we have s1, which is basically the same thing, right? p1, capacity 5, length 5. Now, why Rust is saying that it should have only one owner at a time is because let's assume we have let s equals string from high and let s equals s1 or s1 equals s. This is the only part of code which we have. Okay, we do not have any print statement. Okay, if you want to execute this, what will happen is, by the end of this code block, we'll have a drop function which will be trying to clear up the heap memory and disassociate the values from the owner, which we have learned from rule 2, right? The drop function will be called internally by Rust, and it will basically disassociate every other value which was initialized in this code block from its memory allocation. Now, if both s1 and s2 try to clear this memory of high, it could cause panic. Rust compiler will not be able to understand which particular variable or which particular owner is trying to clear up the memory. And that's why Rust came up with rule number 3, which is one owner at a time for any of the values. So if we go ahead and see what should be the output here, it will be basically undefined. So S will be particularly undefined. Your compiler will not be able to compile this code. What exactly happened to S1 is this value will be moved to S1, and now only S1 will be pointing towards this P1 star, and S will be disassociated in this part of the code, and that's why it is undefined by nature. If we print S1 here, your code will compile correctly and you'll have high as the printer or high as the output. But if you want to print S, it will not happen because S is undefined. Now this concept of moving the value from one variable to another is called move. And if we want to clone all the properties of S into a different variable, we'll have to use a function called clone. To give you an example, let S equals string from hi, let S1 equal to S dot clone. I should write it in a better way. S dot clone. And now if you print S1 or S2, both will have values. What exactly clone does is, it basically creates a deep copy of S, and you'll have a different pointer itself. In other words, if I show you from the memory diagram, S will point toward the stack, will have a pointer P1, which is an output of the heap where high is stored. S1 will have another pointer P2, which will store high somewhere other than the existing node. So these are deep copied values and not the same value. So if you want to clone anything, a string basically, use clone. But if you do it this way, then it basically disassociates the initial variable, moves it to the new variable, and you'll get undefined if you have referred it in the print statement here or anywhere in the code. During operations also, if you reuse S across your code, the compiler will fail. Now these were the 3 rules of ownership. I guess you might have got a taste of it. Go through the lecture again if you want to understand it deeply. I'll add everything in the Notion doc, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.